It's bad.
Edgarism. By Christmas, heads roll. Their head rolls.
That's
have
our
to have
Edgarism.
an Edgarism.
Christmas is so much pleasurable this year because there was no picking on Mac.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Good evening. This is Senator Dean Heller. I'm in my office in Washington, D.C., and I want to welcome you to my weekly Teletown Hall meeting. This is your opportunity to talk to me about issues that are going on in Washington, D.C., issues that you're seeing going on out here. Obviously, jobs in the economy, healthcare, you name it. I want to talk about that tonight with you. And the way to participate in this Teletown Hall meeting is by hitting 0 on your keypad, and that puts you in the queue. A lot of you have done this before, so you know how this process works. Hit 0 on your keypad. We'll put you in the queue, and we'll talk about any issue that you want to talk about. It's a lot of fun. It's a good, interesting hour. Gives us the opportunity to talk about what's most important to you. We can talk about immigration reform. We can talk about the Second Amendment, energy policy, anything that's important to you, or we can go back to Washoe County, because that's where we are tonight, and talk to you about anything that's going on in Washoe County and perhaps some of the primary results tomorrow if you have any concerns or questions about what may or may not have occurred. But hit 0. Hit 0 on your keypad. That'll put you in the queue. We're going to get to as many people as we can this evening through this process. So let's start with Linda in Sparks. Linda Cruz?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, this is Richard in Reno.
Hi, Richard.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing
just
well,
got a question. It doesn't concern Washoe County. It concerns our so-called border security. Have you ever seen the border in Israel?
I sure have.
Ours look the same way.
Well, I've been to Israel. Had an opportunity to look to see the border between Palestine and Israel themselves, and boy, they've done a tremendous job, and obviously eliminated a lot of the problems that they were having with terrorism activity and bombs being dropped and so on and so forth. So they understand it. They see the importance of border security in that country, and I wish we'd do more about that. We had an immigration reform bill here in the United States Senate. It was very, very heavy on border security. In fact, it was so heavy we ended up with probably a border security agent every 1,000 feet on that border. So anyway, I'm very pro-border security. I think like everybody else that's on this call tonight probably feels the same way. If you want to talk more about the immigration bill or anything else, this is Senator Dean Heller. And I'm in my office in Washington, D.C., and want to thank everybody who's joining us this evening. If you want to call me or call my office, you don't want to hit 0 on your keypad, but you want to call my office, our number there in Reno is 686-5770, 686-5770, and we'll have staff prepared to answer your questions or help solve any issues that you have. But to participate in this call, hit 0 on your keypad. We'll get you in the queue, and we'll move on and make sure that we can answer as many questions as possible in the shortest within this next hour. So let's go to Ron Weber. Ron, are you with us?
Hi, this is actually Ron's wife, Connie Weber.
Hi, Connie.
Are you there?
I'm here. Go
Hello?
ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So with the legalization of marijuana in 2 states now, but the federal government still has it as a federal offense, is anyone in Washington, including yourself, thinking about saying we need to take this off the, same list as heroin and put it on a list that, the states can start making some money from it?
Right. Well, obviously that's the argument. That's what's going on in the state of Washington and Colorado right now. I might not agree with you on this particular topic only because I fear the widespread of greater drug use. if we were to legalize it. But I'm assuming this is all going to go through the courts and probably will be settled by the courts over the next few years. So regardless of what happens here in Washington, D.C., I think the courts are going to want to take a good look at this. Right now, obviously, federal law, as you just mentioned, Connie, is opposed to the legalization of any drugs, and obviously contrary to what's going on in those two states. But I think this is going to get settled. It's going to be settled in the courts. I think most states will now start taking this to their district courts, and they'll make those decisions. So, we have medical marijuana in the state of Nevada. The voters had an opportunity to have their voices heard on that as a ballot question. It passed. I'm supportive of that, and it does have its benefits. But outside of that, any use otherwise, I support the laws that we have in place now. Let's see what happens in Colorado. Let's see what happens in Washington. But I'm real concerned about what the repercussions may be of spread of drug use, marijuana use. So we'll see. It's a good chance, I think, to study what's going on in Colorado or Washington right now. But anyway, thanks, Connie, for the call. Let's go to Bill. Bill in Reno. Hello, is this Bill? All right, looks like he's watching TV. Let's move on and talk to Kathy. Kathy?
Yeah. Hi there. I want to know when they're going to stop shipping our groceries out of the country. Milk prices here are going sky high. They just opened up. They're opening up a plant in Fallon. Kids nowadays here can't get the darn milk because they're going sky high, and yet they're shipping our milk off to China. They took our lumber, the construction industry, sky high. They took our lumber, they shipped it to Japan. Now we've got imported from Canada. China or Japan just bought our pigs and made our bacon go high. Have they ever heard of charity begins at home? Maybe it's time they cut back on these trading agreements and start keeping some of our groceries in this country.
All right, Kathy, you make a point. I think what your overall comment and concern is obviously not necessarily supporting free trade, but perhaps some fair trade, and how America is able to balance its exports versus its imports on some of these products. There's no doubt energy prices are going up, food prices are going up. Under the Clinton administration, they took that out of the equation for determining what inflation was. And I'd argue today that we would see quite a bit of inflation if, in fact, food prices and energy prices were calculated into the determination of today's inflation. But unfortunately, under the Clinton administration, they determined that was something that they should take out. Why? I'm not quite sure, but we don't get a clear picture anymore of what our inflation figures and numbers are and impact that it has, especially on seniors. When you think of the two substances, food and energy, that they probably use the most. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. Appreciate your comments. And again, let me agree with you. Fair trade is critical when we work with Canada and states on our borders and also those overseas. So I'll keep taking a look at that, and thanks for your question. This is Senator Dean Heller. I'm in my office in Washington, D.C. We have quite a few people that are with us here in Washoe County. This is great to have these weekly teletown hall meetings so we can talk about things that are important to you, and whether it's border issues or inflation, the cost of food, energy prices, so on and so forth. These are the topics that I want to hear from you because I use this as I go through committee, and I have an opportunity to let them know how people in the state of Nevada feel on a lot of these issues. So thanks for participating, and if you want to ask questions like we've had, hit 0 on your keypad. That'll put you in the queue, and we'll get to as many questions as we can here in the next hour. So let's go to Dana in Sparks. Dana?
Hi, this is Dana.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad somebody is. I got two issues. Number one, do you think the gun laws are ever going to pass? Do you think Congress? Do you think NRA is ever going to kick in, or Congress ever going to kick in to help out the gun law in Nevada?
Okay, and what's your second question? Then I'll get to both of them, okay?
Okay, and I heard what you said on the news. I got a couple uncles that served in the military, and I would want to hear what they have to say about the Vietnam vets, how they're running the vets up here.
Okay,
the VA.
regional office.
Very
okay.
Hogwash. I didn't serve in the VA, but I know a lot of people that did, and I supported red, white, and blue a lot.
Good for you, Dana. Good for you. And
I stand my ground.
Okay. I appreciate what your family has done also for this country, and those that have served and those that are with us tonight that have served in the military. Thank you very much. Tonight I was on TV, I think on probably most of the channels, at least 2, 4, and 8, talking about the regional office there in Reno. This Veterans Administration regional office and the backlog that they have on applications from returning military men and women. And right now we have the most inefficient regional office in the country. We have one regional office that serves the whole state, including southern Nevada, and with 300,000 veterans in the state and growing, we are the furthest behind in getting these applications moving forward. And what it means is that these men and women that are coming back are waiting years, literally years, to get their application through the process before they get their benefits and before they get their health care. And I've been talking about this for a couple of years. They just came out with a new report on this regional office talking about their errors. Their error rate is very high, over 50% on the applications that they complete. And it's just too much, and I think it is too much. I'm hearing from veterans across the state how difficult it is to get into the system. So I've asked for the resignation of the director. I'll continue to push for that until we see some real management change. Having said that, there's a lot of good people that work over in that regional office that are trying to get good things done, but I just think the management practices over there are more than disappointing. It just literally has to change. So that's the push. The first question you asked me was about gun control and what the implications are here in the short term in the United States Senate. There's a lot of talk about it. I think there was a talk recently with the majority leader about trying to push the gun laws again. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm a strong supporter of the 10th Amendment, Second Amendment, and frankly, I'm very strong with lower taxes. So if you want to know where I'm coming from, you can probably look at those three things: the 10th Amendment, Second Amendment, and keeping our taxes low. But when it comes to gun control, if we want to take a good hard look at those who have that are mentally handicapped, that have those issues that need to be addressed, I'm all for it. I think everybody on this phone understands that. But what I don't want to do is infringe on the average person's access to the Second Amendment and their right to bear arms, and I certainly will continue to vote that way. So anyway, I hope that answers both your questions, and certainly do appreciate everybody taking time. What I want to do now, this is Senator Dean Heller, and I'm in my office here in Washington, D.C., my weekly teletown hall meeting. And by the way, I've been doing this for 7 years, since the day that I walked in from Nevada and started serving as your congressman. And having these teletown hall meetings every week certainly has been very good. But what I also do in these teletown hall meetings is I have these poll questions. And everybody that's on the line now can participate in this poll, so I encourage everybody to do so. The question today is about the economy. As you know, the president often talks about how the economy is improving. And however, there are still 20 million Americans that are currently either unemployed or underemployed, which means that the real unemployment here in this country is near 12%. Meanwhile, unemployment in Nevada remains at one of the highest in the nations at 8%. Real unemployment is probably closer to 15%. So here's my question for you. Do you feel like the economy is turning around? On your keypad on your phone, push 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're undecided. Again, do you believe that the economy is turning around? On your keypad, press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're undecided. And at the end of this town hall meeting, I'll let you know how the numbers come out. But I'll probably ask this question 2 or 3 times because a number of people are still getting on the line, and I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to participate. But I still encourage you to do so. Would love to hear from you and get your feelings because, as I said, I use this data and this information as I'm in the in committee and on the Senate floor and share with people exactly the information I'm getting from Nevada on what I consider to be one of the most important issues that we're facing today. So again, 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're undecided. Let's move on. Go back to Sparks and talk to Dennis. Dennis?
Yes, hi, Congressman Heller. My thing is basically about the VA here in Reno because I am a retired military Navy with over 20 years in. And I'm glad somebody's finally, doing something about the VA and taking care of the administrative portion. But that's not all of it, sir. Also, it's the waiting time for having certain procedures done. I'm trying to get a hip replacement right now, and I'm scheduled for an operation, but it's taking longer to get it done than possibly, obviously in the civilian world. And the one thing I'm concerned about is the VA, as far as their care, is good, and their procedures and doctors and everything like that is good. But I believe they are understaffed for the amount of people that come in for the medical help they need, and they wait a little bit longer than what they really should.
Okay. Let me jump on this a little bit because obviously that's the real news today about how difficult it is. But let me start out, Dennis, by thanking you for your service to our country. My father's a disabled vet, has used the Reno VA, and frankly, I think even he will say once you get in, the service is pretty good. The tough part is, of course, is getting in. But my brother just retired also. He had about 23, 24 years in the Navy, and he was told before he got out to apply to the Reno VARO because they were telling him how long it takes to get those applications through. And, he was concerned about that, similar to your concern. But thank you for your service, and thanks for serving this country and what you do. I had numerous conversations with the hospitals, especially the hospital in Southern Nevada, because there's a number of exceptions in a recent investigation. Concerned about the waiting time, the waiting list, and how many veterans we have in this state that are looking for services. They built a brand new hospital down in Southern Nevada. So we have the Reno hospital. Now we have a brand new Southern Nevada hospital. It's about a year old. And I really wanted to give them a chance to get their doctors and I know it takes a little bit of time to get up and started. But needless to say, I'm as frustrated now seeing some of these reports about long waiting lists that you just explained. If you do have a concern, we can help. Knee replacement, hip replacement. I know some of these things take a little bit of time, but we certainly can help. We certainly can help moving these things forward. Call my Reno office. My Reno office is available, and talk to Glenna. But that number I announced earlier in today, and I probably should have repeated it a couple of times by now, but is 686-5770, 686-5770. You may know Glenna. Glenna's pretty involved with the veterans in Northern Nevada, works hard for them, and tries to get them the benefits and the health care that they need and deserve. By the way, there was a bill that passed today. It was a VA compromise between McCain and chairman of the VA the Veterans Committee, Senator Sanders, and I supported that legislation. Purpose of it, of course, was to reform the VA and improve accessibility to timely VA health care. One of the things that it provides, and I think it was pretty important, is that if you live outside a 40-minute radius, and that doesn't affect Reno because you have the hospital right there, but for those who let's say live in Elko or Winnemucca or Pahrump, some of these areas that don't have a clinic, if you don't have a clinic and you live outside of 40 miles, it gives you the opportunity to go to a local hospital of your choice to get quicker service, or so that you don't have to drive so many miles. It was a compromise that everybody came up with just to make sure that these veterans have an opportunity to get the health care that they need. These long wait times are very, very difficult for some of these veterans, and obviously the long driving. If you're in Elko and you need to go to a hospital, you either have to go to Salt Lake or you have to go to Reno, and that can be very difficult under certain circumstances. So anyway, I incorporated various pieces of legislation in this bill. Also, it gives the VA secretary the ability to fire VA senior executive employees that aren't doing their job. So I take all this very serious, and I take the care of our veterans in Nevada, the men and women that have served our country, very serious also. And so anyway, thank you, Dennis. Thanks for taking time. And again, thanks for your service. For everybody that's in the queue and that are with us tonight, thank you for your service, those who have served in the military. Let's go to Reno. Let's go to Reno and talk to Chuck. Chuck?
Hello, Congressman Heller. In light of Eric Cantor, one of your Republican leaders, being dumped yesterday, I'm hoping that you have received the message that we, the people, do not want you folks to do nothing. All you seem to want to do is say no to anything that comes up.
Okay, and your message is loud and clear also. And I think the Cantor result yesterday in the 7th District of Virginia, I think it was a shock to the system, to everybody here in Washington, D.C., and frankly, it was the shot heard around the world, I believe. It's the first time a majority leader of either party in the House of Representatives has lost a primary election. That being the case, obviously we're going to spend the next couple of days, maybe the next couple of weeks, trying to determine exactly what this happened. But the key to all this is the reason I do teletown hall meetings. I think if Eric Cantor would have done teletown hall meetings like this and remained close to his constituency, the majority leader flies around a lot, and it just goes to show you that you really have to spend some time with your constituents and time with them. But your point is made. Today I had lunch with a couple of Democrats and a couple of Republicans sitting down and talking about solving some problems. Mark Kirk, a Republican from Illinois, Manchin, a Democrat from West Virginia, Angus King, an independent from Maine. 4 of us went to lunch together, and we lamented and talked about exactly what you just mentioned. It's about getting things done. It's time to get things done here in Congress, and I do know that the people on the other side of the aisle are going to sit down with their majority leader tomorrow and talk to him about the importance of this process and moving legislation forward. So anyway, it's not forgotten, and it's not falling on deaf ears what you just said. So anyway, thanks for the call and thanks for your comments. Any other comments similar to that, please hit 0 on your keypad. This is Senator Dean Heller. I'm in my office here in Washington, D.C. I want to thank everybody that's joining us and has joined us to participate on this call. Hit 0 on your keypad if you want to ask a question. We're going to get to as many as we possibly can and as quickly as we can here in the next hour. So let's go to David. David in Sparks.
Hi, hello. This is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I wanted to ask you. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to ask you. So you've been in the office for 7 years, right?
I have.
And I wanted to ask you, what has been your major accomplishment? What has been your proudest moment that you've been there? And what is your term limit set for that? Do you believe in term limits? I mean, granted, Harry Reid has been there for 40 years. What do we do? I mean, he needs to go. All right.
I'm feeling some frustration coming through this phone, and it's shared by a lot of people that are on this phone call about how do we go forward from here. I will tell you that I'm one that does support the concept of term limits. Obviously, Eric Cantor was term limited yesterday. Voters had a discussion about that and decided that they wanted to change and who served them. But if there were to be a law, like we have in the state of Nevada, governor can only serve for 2 years. Every constitutional office in Nevada is limited to 2 terms. I wouldn't be opposed to it. What I would be opposed to is Nevada term limiting themselves and no other state doing the same thing. So it would have to be everybody. All 50 states would have to limit their senators or their House members. And by the way, that's fine. And if that were to be a bill on the floor, I'd support it. You talked about legislation. One of the things that I've been pushing, I believe the most important thing here in Washington, D.C. is the importance of passing a budget. And I've talked about this quite a bit. Passing a budget is extremely important. In Washington, D.C., we really haven't passed a real budget probably 5 years. And when I say a real budget, the budget itself and all the appropriations that come with it, that hasn't happened in 5 years. We do continuing resolutions, but we don't take budgets seriously anymore. This is what determines your tax rate, your spending rates, the direction of the country, goals of the country, what it wants to achieve over the next 10-year period, and we no longer do that in Washington, D.C. And people wonder why it's so scattered and why this economy is doing so poorly, is it literally has no direction. I introduced legislation called No Budget, No Pay. And I'll continue to push this legislation that tells members of Congress that if you're not going to do your job, if you're not going to pass a budget, you shouldn't be paid. Just like everybody on this phone. You go to work every day, your boss expects something from you, and everybody on this call today is my boss. And I anticipate that you want me to get a job done while I'm here in Washington, D.C. Sarah does, and previous callers have made the same comments. But clearly, we need to move forward. And no budget, no pay would tell members of Congress they're not paid on September 30th at the end of the fiscal year if a budget's not passed. That is our number one priority. That legislation was passed out of both the House and the Senate in a limited in a limited form. I didn't like it, but it was a step in the right direction, and people are starting to understand that concept. So I'll continue to push it, but I think it was a great move forward in trying to get real things done here in Washington, D.C. I want to go back to the poll question again. Thank you again for the question. I want to go back to the poll question that I asked earlier, but I want as many people here participating as possible. We have a number of you that have already participated, and if you haven't, please do so. But the question talks about the economy. Economy, as the president is telling you, is improving. However, we have 20 million Americans that are either unemployed or underemployed, which brings our real unemployment somewhere close to 12%. Meanwhile, unemployment in Nevada remains one of the highest at 8%, while real unemployment here in the state of Nevada, those that are underemployed and have quit looking, somewhere closer to 15%. So my question for you, and please participate by using your keypad, do you feel like the economy is turning around? Do you feel the economy is turning around? On your keypad, press 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're undecided. 1 for yes, 2 for no, and 3 if you're undecided. And I do appreciate your participation on this. I'll probably ask this question one more time throughout the evening, but I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to have their voices heard on this particular question, and probably the most important question in America today, and that's the direction of this economy. Is it or is it not improving? So thanks for participating. I want to get back to callers and go to Karen. Karen in Sparks.
Hi, Senator Heller. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Okay, I was just wondering, what is the status of the investigation of our heroes that died in Benghazi?
Okay, well, as you may be aware of, and for everybody on the phone, there's been a select committee formed. And and for those who may not, I'm sure that most people here on the phone are aware of of the attack on Benghazi that killed 4 Americans, including a U.S. ambassador, and frankly a Nevada resident by the name of Tyrone Woods, killed with that particular attack. But I'll tell you, I do applaud what the House of Representatives is doing. Obviously, Senate doesn't care. The Democrats are not going to hold a hearing on Benghazi because it would bring their own Secretary of State, their own administration to task, and they're not willing or eager to do that. So the House of Representatives has established a select committee to further investigate this attack, and have requested that the Senate Majority Leader do the same thing. But unfortunately, I don't think that that's going to happen. But despite continued efforts in Congress to exert oversight, issue subpoenas, and hold hearings, there are still unanswered questions of really what did happen. So anyway, I think it's time for the administration to fully comply with the request from Congress so that Americans, all Americans, and all of us can hold those responsible for this attack accountable for their actions. And as most of you know, there have been no arrests, and it's interesting that there have been nobody held accountable for what has happened. So anyway, that's the update. I'm looking forward to what the House comes up with. They're going to continue to push this issue, as rightfully they should. I think everybody in America has a right to know of exactly what happened. So anyway, thanks for the call. Let's stay in Sparks. Talk to Vicki. Vicki? Vicki, are you there? All right. Let me try someone else here in Sparks and go to Christine. Christine?
Oh, good evening, Senator Heller. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. I wanted to refer back to when you called Clive Bundy's supporters patriots, and I was wondering how you would justify that view now, having heard Clive Bundy's obvious racial, rants, and then having the shooters in Las Vegas being obviously direct supporters of Clive Bundy.
Right. Well, I think your question is not accurate. First of all, those shooters were from Indiana a couple of months ago, and they came in, and they're obviously very disturbed people, and that was a horrendous event, and it's a sad thing that someone would try to put two things together and try to make it one and the same. But needless to say, I was very eager to and direct when I said that I wasn't considering Clive Bundy himself to be a patriot. Then he came out with his rant, and as most Americans, we all backed off and said, this guy's completely out of hand, and we certainly didn't support anything that he had to say after that point. But I will tell you, and I think that you ought to think about this also, Christine, about the thoughts and prayers to be with these men and women of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, especially their fellow officers that were lost during this tragic shooting. That should be our emphasis, and that certainly is mine. I will be at one of the funerals on Saturday. It's a very, very tragic event for these very young families, and I think most Nevadans, hopefully yourself, do feel the same way. So anyway, I believe the Las Vegas community is grateful for these police officers, their service, and mourns their loss. And I'd like to extend my deepest sympathy to the families of the police officers who gave their ultimate sacrifice while serving our community. So anyway, I'll leave it at that, but I would certainly hope that no individuals in the state of Nevada would believe that somebody coming from another state and doing the tragic events that occurred was related to any other tragic event that may or may not have occurred. So anyway, thanks for the question, and we'll move on to happier topics. Let's go to Rito and talk to Celia.
Hello?
Hi.
Hello?
Yes.
You? Yes. I would like to make some comments on your marijuana problem.
Okay.
And your working problem. And these two first. The marijuana problem is I have a son that started on marijuana, and he was started by an older friend of, and it's been 52 years. 52 years of taking care of him like a baby over. He disturbs the family. He calls up at night. He's out in the street. Sometimes he doesn't have his pants on, and other times he. I don't understand why people want to give him this. The marijuana, it doesn't start. It starts the gate open to drugs. Look at your movie stars. Look at your. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And if they want medical marijuana, they should have it. But to give it to them and let them say, okay, I understand from other friends that have this open gateway. Oh, it's a big party. It's a big party. Yippee! Everybody's,
All right. Okay, Celia.
Secondly, they have this about the shipping in the immigrants from other countries to do the work that the Americans can't do. My boys started out. I worked in the fields. I went all my life. I worked, and my boys did. And my grandson went to looking for a job. Went to look for maintenance, which was mopping floors. You know what they told him? He doesn't have no experience. You mean it takes a rocket scientist to mop floors, to pump gas, to work McDonald's, or to do jobs? I don't understand what they... you don't learn to work unless somebody gives you a chance to work. And if they give you a chance to work, you learn experience. You can go up the ladder. But if nobody gives you a chance and figures, well, I'm going to give it to all the illegals coming in, I'm going to give it to all the Russians coming in, or somebody else coming in, we must have the greatest country in the world full of scientists, rocket scientists, because they're not doing anything for the young generation. They go to college, they can't find jobs. I just don't understand. It's easy to stand up there and say this percentage, that percentage. I listen to a lot of programs, and I think it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry.
Okay. But no, thank you for your comments. You make a point about young adults that are coming out of college and trying to find a job. Just in the last couple of years, as difficult as it has become, over 50% of college graduates are now moving back in with their parents because there just aren't jobs available out there. And it is key, I think, here in Washington, D.C., is that we do protect American jobs. And with the high unemployment rate that we have here in Nevada, one of the highest in the nation, obviously it becomes very critical. There's I'm a long-time supporter of a system called E-Verify, and that's the verification software that will and should soon become available to most businesses, so that we can make sure that the workforce that we have include those that are here legal and that is a safe workforce. And that was part of the comprehensive immigration reform bill that we had. E-Verify was a huge part of that. And so we'll continue to push that, and hopefully it'll make more sense. I'm like 99% of America. I don't like our current immigration system, and that we need to do something different. Literally need to do something different. I'm not happy with 12 million people that aren't here legally, and we need to change the laws that we have here in this country, and I think that's what we've attempted to do from time to time. Needless to say, you talked a little bit about marijuana, and you and I are on the same page. That medical marijuana has its uses, but you get beyond that, and it is a gateway drug to worse things, and certainly we don't want to see that happen to our generation of families today. So anyway, thank you for the call. Thanks for taking time. Let's go to Reno. Let's go to Reno and talk to Charles. Charles in Reno.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I commend you for all of the work that you do for office.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everything about you. My question to you is, what is your opinion on the fact of the matter that so many of our U.S. dollars and so many are being sent to other countries like Syria, with John McCain being sent to Syria? In all due respect, I think that's just the worst decision that office could have ever made. And I'm wondering if our government and Obama was so for the American people, then why would the veterans subject even come up to take their life support from them? I mean, these are the people that fought for our country. These are the people that died for our country. And if Obama truly likes Americans, why isn't he for the American people? That's my question to you. When are the people going to open their eyes and realize that Obama absolutely loathes Americans and has much blood in his hands from the American people? I mean, this 240 Beijing flight passengers, many American tourists, you couldn't fit another flight. You couldn't fit another passenger on that flight. But the thing is, it was hush-hush as a suicide. Now, I've been in the medical field since 1990. When I see a manic depressed person and suicide, they are not going to take 240 people with them. I'm not talking about obsession depression. I'm talking about manic depression that affects the heart, the mind. They're not going to take 240 people with them. And not only that, why was it so hushed immediately? It was talked about maybe 3 times on the news. And you know, my basic point is your opinion. What is your opinion on our government towards America today when they're giving every bit of our money to other countries? When are they going to start caring for Americans?
Okay. You might, thanks for taking a few minutes. And I think what you're talking about is the foreign spending that we do here in this country. And boy, foreign aid is something that I have a very consistent record of voting against. We spend send a lot of our federal dollars overseas to help countries that, frankly, do not like Americans. And I can understand the frustration that some on this phone call this evening may feel the same way. But I will assure you that when it comes to foreign aid and foreign spending, I loathe the opportunity to vote for any of that, with one exception. With one exception, that's the country of Israel. I think that's a sister country of ours. We don't give them economic aid; we give them defense aid. As you can imagine, a country like Israel in an area that is very hostile, us giving them aid, and by the way, 80% of that defensive aid that we give to Israel is spent here in the United States as we build the tanks, the warships, and also the airplanes for their use. But that's a big concern. We do another thing wrong here in the United States, and that is that we tax capital that comes back into the country. And that is probably more disruptive than foreign aid. We have trillions of dollars offshore right now that American countries would love to bring in, but it comes at such a price. We have a 35% tax rate. We're the only industrialized country in the world that taxes our own money coming back in. So you have some of these electronic companies around the world that would love to bring money and capital into the United States, which would create jobs and certainly fund research and development and spur this economy. Well, it just sits offshore because they can't afford the 35% tax rate. So what they'll do is they'll just borrow money. much less money, and it's cheaper to pay the interest rate on borrowed money than it is to pay the tax rate to bring their own capital back into the country. So we send some real bad economic messages, and it's pretty simple. If you got the highest tax rate in the country, corporate tax rate, you're not going to be competitive. And right now, the United States has the highest corporate tax rate. If you're going to tax the capital that comes back into your country, you're not going to get that capital, and that's going to impact creating jobs, strengthen the economy, and research and development that we could be doing. So we do a lot of things wrong. We need fundamental tax reform here in this country. I'm eager to have that discussion. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon. The chairman of Ways and Means would like to have moved on it this year. Certainly didn't happen, and as we're getting closer to this election, certainly aren't going to be a lot of tough votes that are going to be taken between now and then, which is frankly unfortunate. But it does have to occur, and I think the previous caller would agree with that. So anyway, thanks for your call. Let's go to Sparks and talk to Harold. Harold?
Yes, Senator Heller, how are you tonight?
Doing well, thank you.
You know, there's a lot of issues that I'd like to discuss, but I know you're limited in your time. But the bottom line is this. You know, you can tell by what's happening across the nation in our primary election. Here in Washoe County, for example, we only had 23% of the vote that turned out for our primary election. Excuse me. But the bottom line is this. The people don't feel that the elected representatives are really representing them. They feel like the bureaucrats and the lobbyists are taking care of whatever goes on in our nation. And those people that are being elected are not running the nation. They're being led, but they're not leading. And the people are getting discouraged. They don't want to even participate anymore because they feel like they're just not answering the questions and the problems that we have. The world is kind of drowning around us, and no one seems to be making any effect on anything. I mean, you take a look at what's happening right now in Iraq. They've already taken over 3 major cities, and it's only a matter of time before the Al-Qaeda takes over the complete nation again. And it just seems like everything that we do seems to be turning into more turmoil than any solutions that we might be seeking. And it's getting discouraging. People are just giving up because they feel that the elected representatives that are supposed to be representing the people, this just isn't happening.
Okay. Harold, thanks. I want you to know that this isn't inevitable. It doesn't have to be this way. You talked about 23% voter turnout. That's if you actually take a look at those numbers, that only includes those that are registered to vote. If you include those that are not registered to vote, that number is probably closer to, I'm saying 12%, 13% voter turnout. 50% of Nevadans aren't even registered to vote. And then you see 23% turnout, you can cut that in half and actually get real voter turnout. But it is frustrating. But it's not inevitable. I mean, if voters can make a change. We saw that in Virginia, in District 7, where they said enough's enough, and they kicked out a majority leader of the House of Representatives because they simply had had enough. So this can change, and I'm very optimistic. I think there's groups that I'm part of that want solutions and looking for solutions, and I'll continue to work with those groups. As I said, I had lunch today with an independent, with a Democrat, and a Republican, and we sat down and talked about the direction of this country and what we're going to do to get things changed and moving in this country. I can understand the frustration, and the answer, though, isn't not voting. It should get people more riled up and more active in their government, and I certainly hope that'll happen in the near future. I want you to know that I travel across the state, all across the state, to our rural areas because I want to represent everyone, and I believe that's my responsibility, and get more people involved. That is the key, to get more people involved, not less. But there's also other groups and organizations. There's a group out here called No Labels. No Labels is a group of Republicans and Democrats, and we get together and we talk about the concerns and problems that we're facing here, and try to get Republicans and Democrats and independents together and forget about forget about those labels and think about the American people. So I hear your frustration. As I said, it's not inevitable. The economy's tough, jobs are tough, healthcare isn't working, the website isn't working. We have Benghazi, we have trades for combatants. We have Fast and Furious. I mean, these are some really frustrating times now for the American people. But it can be better, and participation is the answer, not less participation. And that's my job, is to get more people to participate in this process, get people elected to office that certainly do care and want to get things done. And so I'm sure that's your goal, Harold, and it certainly is mine and everybody here on this phone. So let's work together. That's the key. Let's work together to get this done. Thank you. I want to head back to Sparks and talk to David. David?
Senator, good evening.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. I finally got through. He called me once before and Sharon came on, but that's okay. I've been educated in the last hour, and I appreciate that. Listen, I have two things to say. One is congratulations on the position you've taken with the Veterans Affairs. It's long overdue. The Veterans is a good situation. It's a good hospital. They saved my father's life many years ago. He was a World War II veteran. I, too, am a veteran, but I was fortunate in that my health care system was separate from them. But you and I have conversed previously on this issue, and it raises ire with me. You have taken a strong position against the leader of our local veterans office, and that's fine. I think you're doing a marvelous job. But I would like to see you take that similar position in the lead against, and again, I don't know the answer, of gun control. We have just recently lost 2 officers in Metro. We lost some kids in Portland. The last time I wrote you or spoke to you was post IHOP Carson City. Then we went to Sparks Middle School. Something has to come of common sense and gun control. Why can't we take a position of getting back to reality? Something has to happen. How are these people getting their hands on these weapons? Why isn't there a mandatory sentence relative to parents or ownership of these weapons? It's a simple issue of buying controls, locks for these weapons, so that these kinds of things don't occur. I'd like to see you take a stand on that.
Okay. First of all, David, let me thank you for your service, and your dad, like yours. My dad also went to the VA hospital, and I believe he's going to turn 81 this year, and I believe he's alive and well because of that VA hospital. And this is a guy that's been operated on his back, his heart, his lungs, his stomach, you name it. He's been operated on nearly every organ inside except his brain. But he's doing quite well today, and I have the VA to thank. So they do good things. But if you can get into the system, and that's the concern that a lot of veterans do have. I want to go to this issues that you have on guns, and I want to go back to that Las Vegas shooting, which clearly was a tragedy. Like you and me and everybody here on the phone, that our thoughts, our prayers go out to these families, to the men and women that work hard every day, that are on the front line, and have to be concerned and weary of the types of people that will go out and do something like this. And I'm grateful for them. I know you're grateful for them. And the question is what do we do to keep incidences like this happening in the future? I was sworn in as a United States Senator to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and that's a solemn oath. I take that serious. One of the parts of our Constitution and what we try to uphold are the amendments, and that includes the Second Amendment also. But I think there are reasonable steps, and I think you and I would agree with this, David, that there are reasonable steps that we could take that would improve current background checks, that would strengthen our background checks and try to help those that have mental issues. I want you to know I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and you know that. We've had that conversation. But it's time to strengthen background checks and close the loopholes. Increase reporting, especially those with mental health issues. We can do that. I think we can strengthen. And if there's gun locks, issues that would make it safer, keep it out of the hands disturbed young adults that create some of the problems that we're seeing today, I'm all for it. But what I don't want to do is infringe on individuals that believe that I do, as I do, of the right to bear arms. I will continue to support the Second Amendment, but I do think that there are some reasonable steps that can be taken, some common sense measures that will protect the use of these weapons and getting them in the hands of those who shouldn't have them. Let's do that. I'm eager to work with those who feel the same as I do. The problem is that we get legislation that comes to the floor, legislation that I may not agree with 100%. But unfortunately, if we'd be allowed to offer amendments to make the necessary changes, and this day and age, the Senate just isn't working well, and every bill that comes to the floor is an extreme bill one way or the other. And what we need to do is be able to allow opportunities to amend pieces of legislation, have the debate on the legislation. Let's move good legislation that makes a lot of sense. So, you and I will talk more about this. Let's protect the American people and try to get over and beyond some of the tragedies that we've seen in the last couple of years. Thanks for the call. All right. We're down to our last call. We have a number of people that are still in the queue that want to get their questions asked, and I'm going to try to get to everyone. This is how I'm going to do that. When I ask the last questions, I'm going to send you to voicemail. So everybody who is waiting in the queue right now, please don't hang up. As soon as the last question is answered, I'm going to send everybody to voicemail. Please leave your comments, your questions. Either myself or someone from my staff will get back to you, and we'd be happy to talk to you and answer your questions and make sure that you get heard in this town hall meeting. So please do so. Please do so. Don't hang up. But let me go to Sparks right now and talk to Faye. Faye?
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, this is wonderful. I've really enjoyed the conversations, and I appreciate what you are trying to do.
Thank you.
Okay, my thoughts are on the drugs. The drugs in our country cost us a lot of money. Our prisons are full of people that half of those, probably more than half, is because of drugs. Child abuse, spousal abuse, driving, everything seems to go back on the drugs. The thing is, years ago, they thought that we couldn't do anything about people smoking, even in bars. And now we have bars where people can't smoke. We've tried to educate children, and people did respond and have. No, not everybody, but it makes a difference. Why can't we do things to help curtail the drug use?
Okay. Obviously, there's been a war on drugs for quite some time, going back to the Reagan years and their efforts, the Clinton years, pushing back on the use of drugs and how difficult that process has been. And you're right. Most of our courts and our jails are filled with drug use, and there's proposals out there. And I'm not one who adheres to legalizing marijuana use, but I'll assure you there are some here in Washington D.C. that do. You've seen the state of Colorado and Washington believing we got to go down a different direction. Let's tax it. Let's make money off of it. We're losing this war, but I think we need to keep up the fight. Like you said, Faye, it does lead to harsher and harder drugs and makes it difficult for young people who've gotten started to get off of them. So anyway, thanks for your call and thanks for your concern. I think everybody on this line heard your concerns in your voice, and it's appreciated. Thank you very much. I want to let you know how this poll question about the economy turning around, I promised that I would do so at the end of the Teletown Hall meeting. 65% of you. 65% of you said that you answered no, that you do not feel like the economy is turning around. 24% of you said yes, and 11% of you said that you were undecided. So by quite a margin, almost 3-1, you just coming out of this particular Teletown Hall meeting, people believe that the economy is not turning around. Again, I'll use this information. I thank everybody for their participation. That's it. I'm going to send you to voicemail. Please leave your name and telephone number. If you don't leave your name and telephone number, very, very difficult to get a hold of you. So do that. Leave your comment, your questions, and we will get to you as soon as we possibly can in the next week or so, because we have quite a few of you still in the queue. So thank you. Have a good evening, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.